a store of value. But fundamentally, Bitcoin is not a good substitute for transactional currency.
Right.
And even though it was created as a silly joke, Dogecoin is better suited for transactions.
Why is that?
The total transaction flow that you can do with Dogecoin is substantially more than, like, transactions per day is much higher than, has much higher potential than Bitcoin. It is slightly inflationary, but that inflationary number is a fixed number as opposed to a percentage.
Right.
So that means over time, its percentage inflation actually decreases. And that's actually good because it encourages people to spend and rather than sort of hoard it as a store of value.
No one embodies the themes of this year more than 2021 Time Person of the Year, Elon Musk.
I got you. I just heard you.
Okay. All right.
Good.
All good.
Thank you. Got it.
So, which living person do you most admire?
I admire anyone who is making a positive contribution to humanity, whether that is in entertainment or in technology, or, I think anyone who's sort of doing things that are really useful to the rest of humanity is, I admire them greatly.
It's really hard to escape Elon Musk's dominance over so many things in American life right now. He's got this rocket company that is completely dominating the space launch business. He's got a car company that is completely dominating the electric vehicle market. He's got 65 million Twitter followers, and he likes to make weird jokes and set people off. And sometimes with a single tweet, he can control the stock market or the value of various different cryptocurrencies. So this is a man who's just sort of become ever present across a lot of different sectors. And this was really the year that he came into his own.
His goal is to make humanity a multi-planet species, and at a time in which NASA has abdicated its operations to put people in low Earth orbit, and for the time being at least, put people on other worlds, SpaceX has stepped in like no other private company before it around the world.
So, Elon Musk's wealth is largely tied up in Tesla stock. He is not only the CEO, he is its largest shareholder. And Tesla is one of the most valuable companies in the country. Its market value is more than $1 trillion. And his wealth is sort of tied up in that company.
Tesla has dragged the legacy automakers into the electric vehicle market.
Yeah.
Do companies like Ford, GM, Rivian, Lucid pose a threat to Tesla's dominance, or do you think you guys have so grasped the market at this point that you are going to own it?
Well, if somebody makes better cars than we do, then and they then sell more cars than we do, I think that's totally fine. Our intent with Tesla was always that we would serve as an example to the car industry, and that and hope that they also make electric cars so that we can accelerate the transition to sustainable energy. I'm confident in the future in Tesla, that it will do well, and I hope some of these other companies do well too.
Earlier this year, this Tesla crashed into a highway divider in California, killing the driver. Another slammed into a parked fire truck in Utah. Both had the autopilot feature on.
There is a federal investigation underway into the autopilot software that Tesla has, which, despite the name, is not autopilot software. It does not drive the car for you. And people inside Tesla have expressed a lot of skepticism about whether the company's technology is eventually going to be able to get there.
Are the cars safe? I mean, should I feel comfortable getting behind the wheel of a Tesla and saying, drive me where I need to go?
Well, the statistics that I think are at this point unequivocal that far more accidents off autopilot than on autopilot. So this is not to say that autopilot is perfect. Now, to get to full self-driving, where you don't need to pay attention, we still obviously have a lot of work to do. So as we get to the point where interventions are extremely rare, even in complex traffic situations, and get to the point where the probability of injury with full self-driving is much lower than with a human driving, then obviously at that point it would make sense to allow the car to drive itself and not have to pay attention.
Became the world's richest man ever. So we asked him about another pressing global problem, and that is income and wealth inequality.
When it's time to pay taxes, new reporting from ProPublica says the nation's top 25 richest people pay little to nothing at all, including Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, and Elon Musk.
One of the main criticisms of him is just that he's so rich. Should any human being be worth $300 billion?
You know, a lot of the push for higher government involvement and expropriation of assets by the government is really pushed by a bunch of politicians who are actually saying that resources shouldn't be in control of people, of private individuals. They should be in control of the government. They're basically saying they want control of the assets. I mean, I think in terms of things that people should perhaps get upset about is, like, I think getting upset about excess consumption is a thing to get upset about. But you know, if somebody's just wasting money on personal luxuries in a crazy way, you know, I'm not Warren Buffett's biggest fan, frankly, but you know, he sits there and he reads all these annual reports, which are super boring. Does anybody want that job? I think most people do not. I don't want that job. But like, he's not like engaged in like insane conspicuous consumption. So you have to say, like, okay, sure, he's got a high net worth, but he's doing a useful job for the economy, you know, and he's very skilled at it. And
Elon Musk definitely uses Twitter in a way that no other business leader does. And it's gotten him into a lot of trouble in recent years.
His Twitter feed is juvenile, to say the least. He has insulted some important people in really immature ways. But when a person with 65 million followers and $300 billion is just having fun, that tends to create ripples in the larger pond.
You are, not to put too fine a point on it, the richest man in the history of the world and arguably the most influential. And yet you tweet freely and playfully and somewhat mischievously.
Yes, that's accurate.
So our feuds with policymakers are poking Jeff Bezos. Is that good for the overall brand?
Yeah, I don't really think about brand optimization, to be frank, as is obvious from my tweets, which are often self-inflicted wounds or humor that I find funny, but not necessarily that many other people find funny.
Right. You know, when you say take the red pill, do you worry about sending none too veiled?
I said take both pills.
Take both. Well, that's okay. All right. Well.
Yeah.
But do you worry at all about activating, motivating the, you know, political fringe?
Yeah, actually, when I said take the red pill, I didn't realize that was some like politically charged phrase.
Right.
I was referring to the Matrix.
Yeah.
You know,
okay. Yeah.
You know, make sure you accept reality for what it is.
Right.
But then it turns out it's like also like some like accept right-wing dogma thing or something. I didn't realize that at the time.
You do have the ability to move markets with a tweet. Should any one man have that power?
Well, you know, the markets move themselves all the time, and so, you know, especially Tesla stock has seen some very big changes in value from one day to the next based on nothing, as far as I can tell. So do statements that I make, are they materially different from random movements of the stock that might happen anyway? I don't think so. It's not like, you know, stock drops in half or something.
Downplaying COVID-19, you kept your factories open, running at the height of the pandemic. And
well, actually, technically, I think there's a misunderstanding there on the factories front.
Tell me about it.
So other car factories in the United States had restarted.
Right.
And we were blocked only because our car factories in the Bay Area and California. So California had actually said manufacturing can restart.
Right.
And then Alameda County decided of their own accord that Tesla could not restart.
Reopening the factory in Alameda was arguably a poor management choice. I think he was aware of the risks that his employees were taking. I don't think it was necessarily a fair choice to pressure or invite or ask or instruct employees to come back to work. Are you vaccinated, if I may ask?
Yeah. I mean, I'm very pro-vaccination.
Yeah.
I believe the science is unequivocal.
Yeah.
I treat it to that effect. But by the same token, I am against forcing people to be vaccinated. You know, I think this is just not something we should do in America. I think we should encourage people to be vaccinated, strongly try to convince them to be vaccinated, but not force them to be vaccinated, or for example, force them to get vaccinated or get fired.
Elon Musk is incredibly influential in the cryptocurrency world. He's constantly tweeting about his opinions about certain cryptocurrencies versus others. He is known as a big proponent of Dogecoin, and someone who has in the past taken Tesla's assets and invested those into Bitcoin and then sold that Bitcoin at a profit.
Well, I mean, I could really sort of wax on about the nature of money for hours because I played a significant role in creating PayPal.
And so my understanding of the money system at a fundamental level of how it actually works, the detailed mechanics of it, is, I think, there are very few people that understand it better than me. Bitcoin is an interesting example, obviously the prime mover on this, but the transaction volume of Bitcoin is low, and the cost per transaction is high. It is, at least at its base level, suitable for maybe an exchange, a store of value. But fundamentally, Bitcoin is not a good substitute for transactional currency. And even though it was created as a silly joke, Dogecoin is better suited for transactions.
Why is that?
The total transaction flow that you can do with Dogecoin is substantially more than, like, transactions per day is much higher than, has much higher potential than Bitcoin. It is slightly inflationary, but that inflationary number is a fixed number as opposed to a percentage. So that means over time, its percentage inflation actually decreases. And that's actually good because it encourages people to spend and rather than sort of hoard it as a store of value.
I'm going to switch to a personal question a little bit, if you're okay with that.
Sure.
So what happened with Grimes, and do you have a new girlfriend?
Oh, man.
Someone new. I know, here we are with our
somewhat
different approach.
You know, Grimes and I, let's say, like, semi-separated, you know, like, it's just that her work has her just being in different places a lot versus my work. So we, you know, weren't seeing each other that much. Yeah, we're still good friends, and I do not have a new girlfriend or anything.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, this place is basically like a technology monastery, you know.
Technology monastery.
Yeah.
I believe with that.
There's hardly any. I mean, there's some in here, but not many.
Yes.
And it's remote.
Yeah.
And we do technology.
Yes.
So this is the techno monastery.
We'll be right back.